Donald Trump recently sat down for an interview with Fox News' Bret Baier, and it rapidly went off the rails. Not only did Trump become triggered when Baier dared to confront him over the $400 million luxury jet that Trump is going to receive from Qatar, a foreign government, and we have an update on that, by the way, but Trump also started talking about the N-word to a visibly panicked Bret Baier, and even said it during the interview. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we have some clips to play from this recent interview between Trump and Bret Baier. We're going to start with some of the more unhinged stuff first, and then we'll get into the situation with the jet from Qatar.
It was tit for tat. It was getting deeper and more, more missiles. Everyone was stronger. To a point where the next one's going to be, you know what, the N-word. You know what the N-word is, right?
Nuclear.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
I figured you'd want to clean that up. No, it's the N-word. That's a very nasty word, right? In a lot of ways. The N-word used in a nuclear sense, that's the worst thing that can happen. And I think it was...
So he's talking about India and Pakistan, two nuclear nations which came into direct conflict on Trump's watch. And yeah, they're both nuclear powers. For a brief moment, the threat of nuclear war was higher than it's been in decades. You know, people talk about the situation with Russia invading Ukraine, and that's terrible. And there is a risk. People talk about, oh my God, Russia's a nuclear power. Well, Ukraine has no nukes with which to retaliate. Well, India and Pakistan do. And we'll see what happens with the ceasefire. But by the way, Trump tried to take all the credit for that, even though there's little evidence to support he played a meaningful role. But that's why he was talking about the N-word. I don't know why you just wouldn't say nuclear. There's no taboo against saying the word nuclear. Maybe Trump can't pronounce it that well. That's why he needed Baier to, confirm the pronunciation for him. But you can see Bayer's like, bro, what? Let's not do this. Let's clarify here. Just unhinged stuff from Donald Trump. Here's another clip.
On mobile.
But you're the president. Can't you find out?
No, I know. I'm relying on my people to tell me what it is. You know, we have deep-seated craziness in this country, and I'm relying on my people, and so far they're good, but so far and in this case it's Secret Service, they tell me it's fine. But it's a little hard to believe, to be honest with you, okay? It's a little bit hard to believe as I get that throbbing feeling.
Yeah.
I get a little throbbing feeling.
Well, if you find out, we'd love to know. We continue to ask.
I know. No, I
and a lot of
understand
people ask us.
It's a little bit strange. We have incredible people in there now, so can't blame it on mobile.
So that was a question about the assassination attempt on Trump, and his response was incoherent. You know, we've got great people. They say it's okay. I don't know. I get a throbbing in my ear. You know, Donald Trump's inability to cogently and substantively answer a question, even about something like that, like you would think like he'd be as alert as hell, right? Because he was the victim of an assassination attempt. You would think he'd be like, okay, here's what we're doing. Here's the status of the investigation, or the investigation is pending, or the investigation's ongoing. And he just can't answer the question substantively at all. Now, I want to play this clip. In which it's a lengthier one. It's where Bret Baier presses Donald Trump about the $400 million luxury jet that Trump is going to be receiving from Qatar. We've done a lot of videos about this. Merits a lot of attention. It's another demonstration of Trump's unparalleled, unprecedented corruption. And Trump doesn't like the pushback he gets from Baier.
Home was about this donation of the Qatar Boeing jet. And I've heard you talk about it.
You know, until you bring this up now, I haven't heard about it for 3 days.
I know, but I mean, I'm just telling you
we
back
can talk
home.
about it again. You ready?
Briefly. I heard all the answers.
Well, no, but your audience has to hear the answers. Yeah.
They're giving it to the Defense Department.
To be very simple.
Yeah.
They're giving it to the United States Air Force / Defense Department of the United States. They're not giving it to me. I made a good deal. We need a plane for a couple of years before we get the other ones, because Boeing is very late. Boeing is sadly...
Did you talk to the CEO while you were...
I did. I said, let's get, in the meantime, I got them 160 planes to build. I said, how about the two that you're supposed to build for our country? Now, they are different. They're extremely complex, and I'm not going to go into it, but they're not like a normal plane. It's not like building a 747 normal.
We could put people on the moon before
but let me tell you,
the Boeing Air Force One is
People
done.
knew I was angry at Boeing. A lot of people know. These people know, they're very smart down here. And they suggested if we can do anything at all to help, because we have 40-year-old planes right now. You know, our Air Force One is actually 2 planes. It's 2 747s.
I don't think people know that. 40 years. It's 4 decades old, the current Air
They're
Force
40
One.
years old. They're more than that. I think they're 42 now. I've been saying 40 for 2 years. They're 42. We shouldn't have a 42-year-old plane. And you know what? There's nothing unsafe about it. In many cases, they're just as safe or more safe. They're heavier. You know, they throw out a lot more for the.
So you see, this is stupid. He's just so dumb. He's just so dumb. If you just like let him speak extemporaneously, he will proverbially shoot himself in the foot. Oh, there's nothing wrong with him. He even basically confirmed that to Sean Hannity during a recent Sean Hannity interview on Air Force One. Yeah, it's a great plane, safe, nothing wrong with it. Well, then why do you need it? Why are you bringing up the age of the plane? This is the most scrutinized secure plane on Earth, regardless of age. This plane is dismantled regularly by the Secret Service and the DOD and effectively rebuilt from scratch. Okay, this isn't just a 40-year-old plane that you take out for a spin. This plane is safer, more secure, and in many ways more advanced than any other on Earth, including the luxury jet he's going to receive from Qatar, which will have to go extensive, taxpayer-funded security upgrades and retrofitting to make it compliant with federal law with respect to Air Force One. Could cost $800 million to the taxpayers, or potentially $1.2 billion taxpayer dollars. And Trump's going to take it with him when he leaves? This is not cost savings. This is not efficient. This is going to waste so much money because these new Qatar luxury jets are bigger and gold. He also confirmed that too. I pull Air Force One up beside these other jets and it looks just so small and puny by comparison. It's pure Freudian psychology with this man. But we'll continue.
The environmentalists out there, to turn them, they throw out a little more than a modern engine would throw out. But they're good, but they're 42 years old. And when we landed, I saw the other day, when we landed, we parked right next to the 747 of Qatar. And we parked next, there was another 747, 2 or 3 of them, which the Arab world has. And when you look at a new 747 and you look at a plane that's 42 years old, not even the same plane, the other ones are bigger and sleeker and sharper, and it doesn't look right. We have a problem with Boeing. Now, again, it's a very complex plane. It's a much different plane than a normal plane.
You see? He even admits it there. Yeah, like theirs is bigger, and it's all about size. Like, we can't just you can't be standing next to somebody at a urinal and it's pure Freudian psychology. It's insane. And he's going to make the taxpayers pay again between 800 million, $1.2 billion to help temporarily relieve his deep-seated Freudian anxieties.
Would be okay. And they're doing a great job. They're coming back, and they're coming back strong. But I'm angry about them for the 2 planes. They should be able to knock them off in no time, and it's, they're not able to do that. And he said, great gentleman, Tamim, he said, I would like to help if you want. I said, how can you help? Well, we happen to have a plane. And I said, well, what do you want to do? He said, you have been, and he doesn't mean me, although I have been good. He means our country has defended them, has done great things for them. They might not be there.
Base.
Look, right next to Iran, and he is right next to. He's not like an hour away. Like I flew an hour to one, I flew an hour to here, but that one you don't have to fly. All you have to do is walk right across the border if you want to. I mean, it's literally touching, right? Right next to it. And he said, your country has been very good to us. I would love to do something to help with this situation you have with Air Force One. I said, that's nice. What do you suggest? And he suggested this. And I said, you know what? That's very nice. That's very nice. I appreciate it. What would be the price? He said, there is no price. I said, that's nice. Now, this plane's not for me. This goes to the United States Air Force for whoever is president. Mm-hmm. And at some point, it'll be like Ronald Reagan. It'll be decommissioned. It's 11 years old.
So it stays until it's decommissioned.
Yeah, it'll be decommissioned because they won't want it. Plus, they'll have the other 2 planes by that time, and there'll be brand new planes, etc. But I just want to say, It was a radical left story that a lot of people, including you,
I asked the Prime Minister about
But
it
you know what?
specifically,
Yeah,
and
okay.
he said, he didn't understand the reaction back home, and he made that clear.
I think he was insulted. Actually, he made a gift to help.
So again, he says it's going to be free. It's not. Between 800 million to 1.2 billion dollars worth of security upgrades, and Trump's going to take it with him for his presidential library. He says, well, it's going to be decommissioned. Well, the initial reporting was you were going to take it with you after you left office. Are you saying you're going to let it go for another 20 or 30 years, and then once it's decommissioned, you want it to go to the Trump presidential library? That's better than the initial reporting, assuming it's true, but it's still pretty bad, especially when this plane works just fine, and we have others on the way as part of a contract that Trump purportedly negotiated. So there's just no need for this. And so he spins it as, they came to me, except we have new reporting indicating that that's not true. Sources contradict Trump narrative about Qatar offering plane as gift. The Trump administration first approached Qatar to inquire about acquiring a Boeing 747 that could be used as Air Force One by Donald Trump. 4 sources familiar with the discussions told CNN. That's contrary to the narrative from Trump that Qatar reached out and offered the jet as a gift to him. After Trump took office in January, the Pentagon contacted Boeing and was told the company would not be able to provide the new jets it was building to replace the aging presidential planes for another 2 years. The Trump administration, however, wanted a replacement plane much faster, and the Air Force was exploring different options for doing so. At the same time, Trump asked his Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, with finding a list of viable planes, a senior White House official told CNN. After the Pentagon's initial engagement with the company, Boeing provided U.S. defense officials with a list of other Boeing clients around the world with planes that could work in the meantime, 3 of the sources said. Quote, and Qatar was one of the clients, the second source familiar with the discussion said, adding the Pentagon, quote, offered to buy the plane, and Qatar indicated it was willing to sell it. The Pentagon had launched discussions with Qatar after learning the White House supported the idea, the third source said, and Witkoff helped facilitate the initial conversations, the White House official said. The third source recalled that the initial discussions were about leasing the plane rather than buying it outright. But Trump has repeatedly described the potential deal as a gesture or a contribution from the Qatar royal family. A gift free of charge. Again, not true given the taxpayer-funded security enhancements that would need to be created. He wrote on his social media site, Untruth Social. He said it would be a temporary replacement for Air Force One and given to his presidential library after he leaves office, but denied he would fly the plane then. Again, no evidence that that's true. Donald Trump is a malignant narcissist. He has his own Trump Force One, that he flies around even for his personal use, even when he's not president. The idea that he would take this newer, enhanced, highly upgraded plane and not use it and decommission, we have no reason to believe that that's true, especially when he's being caught in lie after lie after lie after lie about this. So there you have it, a disastrous interview on Fox News in which he talks about the N-word, throws it around, seems to send Brett Baer into a mini panic attack, and then he gets pissed off at Baer, calling him, somebody pushing a radical left, far left story, about a totally valid line of inquiry regarding a potentially, unconstitutional violation of the emoluments clause for a gift that Trump's going to take with him when he leaves office after making you and I and everybody else pay between $800 million to $1.2 billion in taxpayer-funded security upgrades. Make it make sense. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.